This time on Between the Wheels.
This looks like the Generally on steroids.
Well, this one here I got out of a Dodge dealership in '96. It was going to be a General Lee right from the beginning.
You told me 140,000 miles on it, which is crazy.
Well, at one time it was shiny.
I've never seen a Charger, let alone RT, with a trailer hitch on it.
Bought it new in 1970.
Those were the best days of our lives, I think.
17 years old when I bought that car.
Ran on the street. I went there, made noise, and went home.
Yeah, that's what it feels like in a 9-second car.
I got it up on jack stands and I cried.
Most people would look at it and say, it's a basket case, you can't fix that.
I mean, we didn't have any safety checks and none of this bullshit now. I mean, everybody just drove a car, you know?
At 40 miles an hour, if you're gonna crash in this thing, you're friggin' dead.
I spent probably 16-hour days. I would end up sleeping in the body shop in a car.
It's gonna be a lot of work, and she said, who cares?
It wasn't that we had money falling out of our pockets. We made the car happen because of the desire to restore the car.
Now this year we've been filming some big block monsters, but when it comes to cars that are absolute legends, none comes to mind more than the '69 Charger, the General Lee. So this car is an absolute legend, and you've had this car pretty much your whole, I guess since you've been in your 20s, you said?
28 years.
28 years,
yeah.
And this was one of your first builds.
Yeah, it was earlier on.
So
yeah.
This looks like the General Lee on steroids. You got the mini tub, you got giant tires on here.
I just always liked the Pro Street look and the drag racing look. So yeah, it was right from the beginning. I had tires for it, and I'm like, it's going to be tubbed, and there's no doubt about it. So
I've never seen a tub General Lee before. That's pretty cool. What size tires you got on here?
445 wide.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow, that's huge. Absolutely huge.
And then they're 32 tall or 32 and a half tall.
So what rear end do you have on this?
It's the Dodge, the 8 3/4.
Okay, nice.
And I forget which gear ratio's in it now. I know it always did have a 390.
So you've always been like into the Pro Street thing. Most of your cars have that look. Your 442 has that. You have some cars in the backyard as well. It's pretty cool. So this is kind of your signature look, I guess you could say.
It's just a look that, I've always liked. So.
Yeah. When I heard that we were going to film with Scott, I was really excited because everybody in this area mentions Scott. When we talk about work, I know you're a very humble guy, like most car guys are, but when I hear about work being top of the line, like your name's always out there. So it's ironic because this is one of your earlier projects, and it's obviously a bit of a rougher project, but this is where you started.
Yeah.
And it's the history of the car that makes it really special. Maybe talk about the history of this car and what makes it unique.
Well, this one here I got out of a Dodge dealership in Ottawa in '96, and it came in on trade 10 years before that. So anyways, I ended up working a deal, got the car, brought it home, and then started repairing it. It was going to be a General Lee right from the beginning is what my plan was. So
that was your dream to do the General Lee, the Dukes of Hazzard car?
Oh, 100%. There was no other things. So it was a good candidate. Brought it home where I was living at my parents' place, and then just started on it that winter. So it was in December, started all the metal work and welding and getting the motor running, and because it had sat for 12 years or something like that. So worked on that for the whole winter, got it painted. The neighbor beside had a little single car garage, and they let me use it for 2 winters, and it wasn't insulated and there was no heat, but I had a spot I could do all my welding and all the working on the car in there. So yeah, I spent 2 winters of weeknights and weekends working on it in the freezing cold, and that's where I built it all.
That's like the most Canadian thing ever. You're not a car restorer unless you restore a car in freezing temperatures.
Minus 25, yes.
With very cold, brutal. But that's the thing. Your goal was to get the Duke's car, get it going, drive it, and you did it. And you're still driving it all these decades later.
And then I drove it that whole summer, and then the next winter I did put the 440 in it, the 4-speed, redid a lot of the chassis on it, and spent that whole winter doing it, and that's the way it's been ever since.
Okay, so you restored this in 96, 97, and the cool part about this car is it hasn't sat in a garage, you know, for all that time with just limited mileage. You have put, you told me 140,000 miles on it, which is crazy.
And yeah, it's just my car that I drive throughout the spring, summer, and fall. So
this is the only Charger RT, mind you. This is a true RT. You were talking off camera. I've never seen a Charger, let alone RT, with a trailer hitch on it. Now, this thing actually went viral years ago because you were hauling your boat and people thought it was a fake picture.
I have it at one of the boat launches, and the car is actually in the water with the boat. And one of the YouTube guys, Finnegan, I remember him looking at that photo, and he's a boat guy like me, and he's like, they thought it was faked, and after he's looking at it, he's like, no, this is actually a real picture with the car. So yeah, it was pretty neat.
Obviously, it's got some wear and tear in it. And when we were talking, I asked, are you gonna, restore it? And you said no because you want to drive this thing. Maybe talk about that.
Yeah, now it would take me a lot longer to do it just because of the quality I'd want to do, but I don't want to, I don't want to be off the road for a couple of years. I want to keep driving it. It's always been on the road.
It's funny because if you look at Scott's work, so you took me for a tour, went in your shops, and I was blown away by the amount of, first of all, the amount of projects you have on the go and how many things you've done. And you're known as a fabrication guy, you restore cars, and you do amazing work. So your boats are incredible, and then the bikes is just amazing. You've done so many bikes, and the quality work you do is not like this at all, obviously, because this was your starting point. So it's very, very high quality work. So if you were to restore this again, you'd probably want to make it.
Well, that's it. So it's gonna take a lot of time, and I don't want to. I want to keep driving it and using it. So.
And you're working on, you got a Camaro in the garage that you're working on.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big project. So. You probably wouldn't have this on the road for a long time.
No, so that's why I just keep patching it up and keeping it running. And
so obviously it's not meant to be a show car or anything, but it's meant to enjoy.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, at one time it was shiny.
At one time, it's funny, you got like the matte look, but it's pretty cool. So I think what we're gonna do next, actually, let's take a look at that engine.
Okay, so that's the 440. It came out of a cop car with 180,000 miles on it. Then it went into a smash up derby, and then I got the motor from that one.
Oh, no kidding, it was in a derby and you saved it?
the derby, yeah. So, yeah, doing the calculations on it, I think it's like 520,000 kilometers on it. Yeah, it's not a real radical motor, but it still makes decent power to it. And I made all the front suspension for it years ago.
Yeah, I see, I'm looking in here, there's no inner fenders. You've definitely done something to the frame here. You've done your own suspension, and I see a rack and pinion. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's one that I had made years ago, and it works all right. It's a rack and pinion. It's kind of a little bit of a Mustang 2 variant with Dodge parts. Some of the geometry, ideally, I would change differently on it to make it the best, but I'm used to it and I'm familiar, so.
That's pretty cool, though, that one of your first projects, you actually added rack and pinion. That's pretty impressive. I don't know many people that did it, especially not at that time. So it's got manual steering, but you have a rack and pinion.
Yeah.
And explain the benefits of having that.
Simpler with less moving parts, and it does steer a little bit quicker than original, is really the main. It simplifies the engine bay as far as components go. You don't have the big steering box, and it's just a little bit easier. There's more clearance to fit the motor in lower in the car, and that's really the main advantage to it.
Yeah, there's not really much in this. It's so stripped down to bare bones, but you don't need to make it overly complicated to do what it needs to.
No.
So you have a 440 here. Obviously they had that 426 HEMI as well, and everyone's always about the HEMI. What makes the HEMI so special, and what are the major differences?
Well, the main thing, obviously, a HEMI valve covers look more appealing than what these, but as far as actual performance, the HEMI has more potential in upper RPM to flow more air than what these were, and that's really your main advantage between the two cylinder heads.
So basically airflow is the big thing.
Airflow is the difference, the main difference once you get to a certain RPM and up. There really isn't anything else like radical about the engine bay. It's not like it's twin turbos or fuel injection.
I think this is meant to be simple.
Exactly,
So I think what we got to do is we got to jump in the car and take it for a ride.
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome.
tune. I use the horn all the time to wave at people.
Nice. I don't remember the General Lee sounding this mean.
It sounded good. They had a couple of their ones had really good motors in them.
But they used a lot. Like they didn't just use 440. They used what, like 383?
It all depends on the scene.
318s, I think. 340s.
The ones where they were like chase scenes where they're actually using it, most of them are all 440s.
They're all 4. Okay.
Yeah, but some of the ones where they were just driving, it could be a small block or.
Yeah.
But the ones where they needed a lot of tire spin, they were all big blocks.
Nice. Because the 340s sound nice too, but.
Oh, they sound really good.
Yeah.
But as far as the scenes, all the chase scenes, and they're smoking the tires a lot, I'm like, they need lots of...
They had 440s in there?
Yeah,
okay.
Those cars were...
Nice. Oh man, I love it. That sounds mean. I can't believe I'm in a 69 Charger right now, that's for sure. That's hard to believe. You know, I grew up watching this show much like you did, so this is definitely a dream come true.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool, man. So how does it feel driving a car that you grew up idolizing, basically? You wanted, like, what's it like driving your dream car like this? Because so many people want a 69 Charger, but very few actually get to do it. What is it like?
It just seems like it's, I don't know, it just seems natural.
You just done it so long, eh?
Yeah.
Not much you gotta say, man. Just enjoy the ride. You know, I find it hard to believe that not only do you got a Duke's 69 Charger RT, but it's also got the Pro Street look to it, and at the same time, you also drive a 442 in the wintertime. I don't think there's anyone else in the world like you. All right, Scott, well, thanks, man, for the drive. That was super cool.
No
and telling us your story, showing all the cool stuff and all the amazing projects you got here. This is pretty cool. So as a part of history, here's your own Between the Wheels hat. Everybody gets on the show.
That's good.
And we'll hope to see you around again.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Next time on Between the Wheels.
1978 Ford Ranger, diesel swap Cummins. That wine is nice.
Well, you haven't heard nothing yet? Originally, it was supposed to just stay stock. Things kind of snowballed out of control.
That really spools out there. This is not just your regular swap. You've done a lot more. You've actually changed the whole chassis and whatnot.